it's very interesting. Krishna started addressing the problem. Not a particular problem of Arjuna, but the general problem for the humanity. So, we tried to clarify one point earlier. So today is the culmination. We are just going to recap that verse 11 to 13 we covered. And this is going to be the basis for the next 14 verses. So we are going to lay our foundation there. So the first thing I want you to have clear clarity is Krishna is not addressing Arjuna's particular problem. If it was Arjuna's particular problem, it would have been how to defeat Kauravas or counsel him so that he is ready for the battlefield. So he is not addressing the problem of Mahabharata battle, but he is addressing a generic fundamental problem. What is that fundamental problem? I tried to elaborate that in the previous sessions multiple times. That I am subjected to sorrow. It's not that I have a particular sorrow, but that I am subjected to sorrow. So today my problem is some finance. You can give me some money and that problem is over. Tomorrow a health problem will pop up. Day after tomorrow some professional problem will pop up. The next day some family problem will pop up. So the thing is, all of us are subjected to sorrow, vulnerable to sorrow. So how we can make us resilient so that whatever is the external condition, you are not drenched into that depressed or deluded mental state. Sorrow you have to face, but how we can build the resistance to that sorrow. If you really think this is the problem of everybody, because this skill is that we are lacking. We do have the individual skill. We do have the professional skills. We do have the personal skills. We do have the financial skills. But the major skill we are lacking is being resilient to this problem and having that efficient mindset to face the problem properly. So let's be very clear about that. So Krishna is addressing that problem in two buckets. The first part of the problem, what is the greatest source of worry for anybody? If you Google it, you will get the answer.
Fear of death.
Fear of death. And surprisingly, what is the second one? Fear of public speaking, they say. If you Google, they rank it. So fear of death. So Krishna is telling us that if you want to build that resilience, the resilience against all the potential problem ahead of us, you need to address two things. You need to consider two aspects. One is, the first thing is, you need to address the fear of death. Second thing is, you need to address the potential fear while alive. Okay, if I say that the fear of death is gone, but that is not going to eliminate all the potential sorrows. Who is going to solve my financial problem? Who is going to solve my emotional problem, especially with the kids? You all know that. And family, social problem, everything is a problem. So he's going to tell us a means to address the fear of death, and then he is going to tell us a means to address the problem while we are alive. That is clear, right? Any questions on that topic? You need to address the fear of death, and you need to address the fear when we are alive. So these two topics were decided, and better be ready for these two. All of we have lived some life, and of course we have some more life. How much we don't know, but definitely we have some more life. If you are intelligent, you all will agree with me. If you are intelligent and realistic, you all will agree with me that the problem we faced in life so far and the problem yet to come. Which is going to be the most difficult one? Exactly. Be realistic. Ayur nashyati pasyadam pratidinam yadichayam yauvanam pratyayandi yati na punarna divasaha kalu jagat paksha. Every day we are marching towards that final day. The youth state is going. And when you are getting into that old age, apakshiyade, right? You started the trouble. So, it's wonderful that we faced all the challenges so far. But if somebody tells you that tomorrow it's going to be a red carpet life, without any problem, we all think that on the retirement day we will start enjoying. Every day we will postpone our enjoyment. But be realistic and understand that the days are going to be more struggle. That doesn't mean that you need to be sad and depressed. So better be prepared for this teaching. So the first point Krishna addressed was the fear of death. What was the verse 11? He said, the Pandita meaning the one who knows his own true nature. The one who knows himself properly. Remember, the definition of Panda, I said, was Atma Vishaye Prajna. The one who knows himself properly. The word Atma gives you a lot of different meaning. Right now, understand that it is yourself. It's not very complicated. Don't bring so many other definitions which you heard earlier. If you don't know yourself, what is going to happen? Means if you know yourself, you are not known as a Pandita. And a Pandita will not get depressed or get into extreme mental conditions about two people. One is what? Gatasun, Akadasumscha. Those who are dead or those who are not yet dead. That's exactly the two buckets I said. The fear of death and the fear while alive. So then he started addressing, like we need to understand how Krishna goes in a very systematic way, step by step. One of the challenge I'm finding with the Bhagavad Gita study is, if you just go and read these books, the so-called paperbacks, it confuses you completely. That's it. So just the best source to interpret the scripture is a bhashya, a commentary, by a traditional master. So that's why we need to be very clear, and if we don't have that clarity, first suspect our understanding. That is one thing I told in the beginning itself. So why we don't need to fear death? Of course, death is a state change. Krishna acknowledged that. But that doesn't mean that you are ceasing to exist. Your existence is done. No. That is the verse told. He said, there was not a time when I was not there. There was not a time when you are not there. And when there was not a time when all these people are not there. He said first person, second person, and the third person. And then he said what? There won't be a time when I will not be there, you will not be there, and all these people will not be there. That means that what? In a higher view, may not be a view that I am aware of right now. And if you really think about, I'm just trying to recap and trying to connect the dots here. At that point of time, I made a statement that sometimes the absolute view may not be our experience. Remember I said, my experience is what? The earth is flat. But what exactly is the reality? Every time my experience is constrained by the vision or the equipments available to me. If I go to an outer space and look at the earth is round. So that's very important. So we defined two different points of view, or the two different definitions for the truth or the reality. If you don't understand, just raise the hands right now. We need to clear it right now. One is called the absolute reality, and the second one is called relative reality. When I say I am seeing the earth as flat, for my day-to-day life, do I need to know that the earth is round and spinning and going around the sun and the whole galaxy is moving? Absolutely not. So the relative world or the empirical world, day-to-day transactions, what is my experience? That is what is known as relative reality or empirical reality. In Sanskrit, we call it as Vyavahakarika Satyam. Vyavahara means what? Transactions. For day-to-day transaction, what is my experience? And then we talked about one more order of reality called absolute reality. Absolute reality means that will be always true. The definition is Trikala Abadhitam Satyam. 3 periods of time in the past, present and future, that which is not subjected to change. The experience of me seeing the earth as flat is subjected to change if I go to a different place or a different time. Whereas the earth is spinning and it is going around the sun, and just it may not be absolute. Tomorrow they may come back with a new definition, but as of now, it seems to be the absolute. So that which is not subjected to negation, that which is not subjected to change, is known as absolute reality. These two are clear. So that is the time I said, like, are you sitting in a modern physics class or a Vedanta class? You may doubt it. That much precise definition it is. So now coming back to the point. So from that absolute vision, that may not means, again, I made it very clear, that may not be my day-to-day experience. From that absolute vision, Krishna is saying that there is no birth, there is no death for you. So what is that absolute vision? To clarify that, so that is what is Natve Vaham Jatunasam Natvam Neme Janatipaha Nachaiva Nabhavishyamaha Sarve Vayamataparam. So that is what we saw the other day. So then we said, that is not my experience is. Everybody, if you take your driver's license, you have a date of birth. You have a name, and you know your grandfathers, the great grandfathers, the greatest architect of this modern world, even Krishna himself is not there. All the prophets and the saints and sages, whether it is a Krishna or a Christ or a Muhammad or a Buddha, everybody came, played their role, went back. So there is an apparent difference between what I observe and what is being stated by the scriptures as absolute. So to clarify that, he defined 3 different dimensions for every life. For every living being, Krishna said, there are 3 different dimensions. We discussed about this last week. The first dimension is called the physical body. So to explain this, I picked up an example of a computer. So if you take a computer, the computer has 3 dimensions. One is the hardware, which is that which can be seen and touched by you. And then there is a software, which is a subtle aspect. But the personality of the computer is always provided by the software. Remember I said, this is a word processor right now, and it can be a game tomorrow, or it can be something else. So the personality of the hardware is provided by the software. The computer will not function if that software is not there. Even if you power the computer, without the software or without the subtle body, the computer will not be able to express itself to you. The personality of the computer, imagine the computer without operating system or BIOS. Remember, the BIOS software, anything, nothing is there. If you plug the computer, what is going to happen? Nothing. It's like a dead computer. So in other words, can I say that the subtle body is going to at least helping us to see and use the computer. Of course, without physical body, the subtle body cannot function. So the hardware is called as a physical body, and the software is called a subtle body. And I tried to answer a few criticisms about this subtle body by some rationalist and some agnostic people. They always say that the weight of the subtle body. So I tried to prove that by quoting a modern example. I was telling that the hardware may weigh like 2.2 pounds, which is the weight of a brain, like your memory. And if you fill that memory with let's assume that it is 2 TB of data. 2 TB of data means it is the lifetime of your, if you take a standard definition video and from 0 to 80 years, you can put that in that 2 TB. You keep all the data into that hard drive and weigh that hard drive again. What would be the weight? So how much data I added, and it is not changing the weight of the computer. That is exactly the difference between gross body and subtle body. So just like that, a human being or a living being also has a physical body, which is the anatomy of your system, which is your brain, everything, sense organs, everything. And there is a subtle body, which is equivalent to a software system. And these two, combination of these two, makes me a feeling that you are alive and you are functioning in the world outside. Imagine that you have only a physical body and the subtle body is absent. What is going to happen? Same example, just connect that same example. It is always clear. A computer without any BIOS software, without any operating system, without any application software. Dead computer. So if it is the presence of the subtle body creates a feeling that you are alive. Now the question is, the final question. Is the physical body and subtle body alone is good enough for you to feel that or to see that you are alive? Go to the same example. The computer has hardware. It is loaded with all the wonderful software in the world. If there is no power, still it won't function. Correct? This is a brilliant example. So if I said three things very carefully. One is, without the hardware, the power and software cannot express us in the world. I have the CD. I have the power. But there is no computer. I cannot see any personality outside. I want to see the personality of a word processor. I brought Office 365. I got excellent power supply. No use. I got the computer. P7 Pro. I got 2 TBs of hard disk. I got the best hardware in the world. Surface, you got it. But no software installed, no BIOS installed. Power is also there. Still, the personality won't be expressed outside. Third scenario. Excellent hardware, amazing software, no power. So in other words, if you want to see a sentient being, a conscious being, or if you are seeing a conscious being, a sentient being outside, or if you are conscious of something and if you think that you are able to express outside, that means there is physical body is functioning, subtle body is functioning, and there is one common source that is giving them the consciousness. And what is that third factor, which is power source? How many power is there? One power is there. So let's say that this is a computer lab. I still remember when we were doing the computer science, when you go to the lab, you have some 50 to 50 computers. One could be HCL, the other could be Zenith, the other could be Lenovo. Some could be made in America, some could be made in China, some could be made in Japan, another could be made in India, like all of us. Correct? In other words, the performance of the computer will be depending upon the hardware. The performance of the computer will be certainly depending upon the performance of the software. But none of them will come out without that one power. So like that, for life to express in the world, we said 3 things has to be aligned. One is the physical body, second one is subtle body, and the third one is the consciousness. Because the presence of subtle body and the physical body is not going to make something conscious. So how many consciousness is there in the entire universe?
One.
There is only one. So it can be considered as like a sun shining in the sky. And imagine that you have 100 buckets of water. Each bucket of water will reflect what? Sun. So if I look at one bucket, bucket A, I will see a beautiful shining sun. So imagine that that bucket do not have that water. The sun is still shining there, but will you be able to see the shining of that sun in that bucket?
No.
So you have the physical body. If the subtle body is not there, the Atma, the consciousness, is still shining there. But that won't be reflected through the physical body. So for the consciousness to get reflected, so for an entity to feel that it is conscious, something is absolute must have, which is subtle body. But the challenge is, the subtle body cannot, it means manifest itself. It has to be always associated with a physical body. So this is what is body. The subtle body, you can loosely call it as soul. And the final one is Atma, the self. So now, Arnabji, you said, right, this is maybe an interpretation of an Advaitin. The Advaitin and Vishishta Advaitin may not, this was one of the other questions I got. What is the scriptural sanction for you to say that Atma is one? Because in Vedanta, the process we follow is Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava. This is the methodology by which you test any statement in our traditional study. The first one is, it has to be accepted. It has to be approved by the scriptures. That is Shruti. Shruti means Vedas. Second is Yukti, logic. It may not be always proving logic, but I said if you want to believe something reasonable. Remember, I tried to explain the different points of view, and I just explained, believe something that is reasonable. And then, when you will be able to experience this truth, we are saying that you can experience it here itself, if you practice. It's not a post-mortem reward. If I tell you that, yes, you can experience it, when? After death. What is the point? So if you tell me that you will go to heaven if you do A, B, C, it's a non-verifiable belief. Such systems, right? I'm not criticizing anybody, I'm just presenting the facts. First of all, whether there is a heaven or not, it cannot be proved from here. I haven't seen anybody who has gone to heaven and come back. Second thing is, if I go to heaven, whether I am going to enjoy or not, that itself is a different question. People say that if you go to Vaikuntha, if you sit in front of Lakshmi, Vishnu, 24/7, you'll be happy. Imagine. Even Lakshmi herself might be bored, right? Sitting there, if you think really like that. So it's not like that. It's all stories are misinterpreted. But let's come back to the point. The point is Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava. And I just wanted to quote the Shruti. So there is an Upanishad called Shveta Ashwara Upanishad. So the Shveta Ashwara Upanishad clearly tells Eko Devaha Sarva Bhutantaratma. There is one. Deva means what?
God.
No. It came from the root called Dvit, that shines by itself. That's the meaning. Sanskrit, you can derive it. There is one entity that gives the consciousness, it resides in every individual's, with every individual. That is Atma. That is how the Atma is defined in Shvetashura Upanishad. And every Upanishad, that definition is given. Isha Vasya Upanishad tells, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. The entire world, moving and non-moving entities, are filled with Ishvara. So what we are saying is that entity which gives consciousness to us, that is known as Atma, and that is the ultimate reality, and that is what we call Ishvara. So the true identity of all of us is, right now I feel that I am conscious. I am conscious means what? I am aware of my thoughts. That's what it means. The Vedantic definition of consciousness is slightly different from the neural definition of consciousness, which I explained earlier multiple times. In neurology, consciousness is a property of your mind. The first definition of Vedanta is consciousness is not a part, product, or property of your body or mind. Consciousness is that by which you are aware of your mental events. Chitta, Vritti, Prajna. That by which you are aware of your mental events. When I use the word mental events, it appears to be very complicated. But if I ask you a simple question, it will be very clear. So you are seeing me right now sitting in a chair. In fact, there are two Rajesh you are seeing. One is a physical me sitting here. Second thing is what?
Voice.
An image of me created in your mind. That is what is mental event. If you really think about the science of perception, thank God, modern science has opened us all these things. So when you see me, what is going to happen? Your eyes capture my image and your ears capture my voice. And the image captured by the eyes, what happens? I don't have to go to the 7th grade biology. It tells me that what? There is a lens here. And that lens focuses your image. And where exactly it goes to? The back of my eyes, which is known as? Retina. And what is the job of that retina?
Reflect. Send signals.
It translates that to be precise, what is going to happen? The light reflected from me was captured by this lens and focuses on the retina, and the retina will convert this. Do you remember the road and the corn, all these cells? What they do? They translates this into electrical signals, and that electrical signals will be sent to my brain, and the brain creates a representation of that electrical signal in my mind. So the really speaking, what you are seeing is what? That mental image created by my eyes and ears and everything. It is much more complicated. And then what happens? There are two eyes. That is why it is a binocular vision. And the angle of those two views are slightly different. If you really go through this is amazing, mind-boggling. I always feel perplexed. So these two different angles, which is slightly different, gives you that three-dimensional image. And then what is going to happen? The smell is integrated with that. The voice is integrated with that. Oh, if you really look at the ears, that itself is I've always find it difficult to believe what is happening with the ear. Remember?
Yeah.
The sound will touch the eardrum, right? That then when it beats, what is going to happen? There is some liquid.
Yeah.
that will oscillate, and there are 3 bones or hairs dipped into that. So that motion will trigger this bones and this hair, and it will create some electrical signal, encoding the whole audio. Remember the spatial effect, the stereophonic effect, the 5.1 effect, everything is conveyed. And everything is mathematically encoded, and finally it will be decoded in the mind. And all these things will be integrated as one mental event. So what you are seeing is not me. What you are seeing and experiencing directly is that mental event, chitta vritti. And who see that chitta vritti is consciousness. That is our definition of consciousness. And that consciousness, we say that it is only one. And we say that electricity is one. So what exactly the electricity makes available to me? What is there in my subtle body? So the electricity is connected to this laptop and your laptop. In your laptop, a video recording software is what is being shown. But with my laptop, a word processor is shown. So what exactly in your subtle body will be illuminated by the consciousness? So if you have terrible thought, it is not the problem of the consciousness. It is the problem of my subtle body. So Swami Chinmayananda used to use, he likes these powerful languages. I was talking about this yesterday. He used to say that the sunlight, when it shines a holy book, it won't become holier. And when it falls under a pornographic book, it won't get defiled. The sunlight, the job of the sunlight is to shine. What comes to me is determined, again, that's why I was carefully using one word. I don't know whether you noticed it. Is that the personality of the computer will be provided by software, the subtle part. So the personality of me is provided by whom? My subtle body. And the personality of me get expressed through the physical body, right? And the personality of me is determined by my subtle body, expressed through the physical body, powered or aware by the consciousness.
So the seer is the same actually.
The seer is the same, but what is being seen is different.
Shown to you is
different. Yeah. So this is exactly what it is. If you know this much, the whole Vedanta is going to be very simple. Yes, Pranamji.
So, Rajaji, 2 questions actually.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the seer, who is the seer? Is the Atma the seer or is the Jiva the seer?
Correct. That's a good question. Ideally, really speaking, who is the seer? Atma. Correct? Because Atma is that which provides you the consciousness is Atma. Correct? So the definition of consciousness is what? That by which I am aware of my mental events. That by which I am aware of my mental events. That is the consciousness, and that consciousness is provided by Atma. There is only one Atma. And that is why Max Planck said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as a derivative of the consciousness. So now come back. I'm just step back. But the problem is, right now you feel that I'm limited, I'm constrained by this body, but that is what you are aware of. So the problem is the problem of identification. Ideally, I should get identified with the Atma.
Yeah.
But practically, I am identified with my body, or a combination of my body and mind.
And one more thing also
Yeah.
on this point, Rajaji, is that it appears to me to be this, and please correct me, that there is no individuality in the Atma.
Correct.
Atma is like a universal source,
Correct.
universal consciousness.
Correct.
But I have my karma,
Correct.
I have my experiences, I have my baggage,
Yep.
I have all my everything which makes me me.
Beautiful.
That
Yeah.
is separate from Atma.
Which make me feel like isolated entity, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay, got it.
How can I be the Atma? Atma is facilitating me. Atma is empowering me. Atma is the power. But then I'm using the power. I'm not the power. Isn't that the case?
It means you can argue that way, or you can say that I am Atma, but I'm using this. Right now. This is a gadget available to me too.
But I feel like the gadget. I don't feel like
Correct.
the Atma.
That's what I said. Like empirical experience. Right now, that is your experience. I agree. Right now, you feel that I am in this body. What exactly is moksha or self-realization is shifting that identification from the body-mind to the Atma. That is what is self-realization. Self-realization is I'm realizing that. You all heard the famous expression. I don't know who said that. We all say that we are living entities searching for some spiritual experience. Have you heard that phrase? But the correct thing is what? We are all spiritual entities experiencing some life experience. That's it. That's the difference. So the shifting of your identity from the body, mind, from the physical body to subtle body to Atma, which is the consciousness, which is the ultimate reality. That is the self-realization. And that's the time we are saying that Tattvamasi, right? Thou art that. And me and the God, the so-called God, all the God and all will disappear here. The traditional definitions of the God. I and the source of the universe is the same. Right now, take it as a hypothesis. It's not your experience.
No.
Right? Of course, that's because otherwise we would have
been gods.
Yeah. So we would have been self-realized masters. So the whole Gita is a journey which there are two problems identified by the Gita. One is identification and the second one is attachment. Identification means wrong identification. In our Vedanta class, I would just strongly suggest you to watch that videos. We have analyzed this topic of identification in detail. Why I feel that I am this body? Because that's exactly what you're saying. Your experience tells me that I am in this body. Why? I quoted one example for phantom limbs. If you could just Google it. Phantom limbs tells you that you feel that one person had amputated his hands, and he always feel that amputated hand is touched by somebody else. Can you say that experience is wrong? Was that real?
Yeah, it was real.
For him it was real.
Yes.
But how can it happen? That is the phenomena of phantom limbs. In other words, what I was saying was the nervous system in our body generate the feeling. It's like a virtual reality created by the software system. The physical hardware and software system creates a virtual reality for you. When you go to Disney and all, have you gone to that spaceship and all those places? It won't even move. But I heard some people screaming and crying and everything as if something planet is coming and hitting them. That's my experience. The experience could be correct or it could be wrong. The point is, another simple example we analyzed in our Vedanta class was, we always feel that when we are in a dream, that is true. Was that true?
No.
You see dream, right?
Yeah.
So in your dream, what happened? You see that I am in India.
Yeah.
But spatially and time-wise, where you were?
North Brunswick.
So what happened there?
I was dreaming.
So what I was telling was, what is being illuminated by the consciousness is what is projected on your screen,
Yes.
mental screen.
Yes.
In your waking state, what is the feed for that screen comes through my sense organs.
Yeah.
Whereas when I am sleeping, The feed for that screen comes from where? From my own stored mind.
Yes.
So that's what the dream is.
Yes.
So, but your experience won't differentiate yourself whether the feed comes from your sense organs or whether that feed is created from your mind.
Yes.
While you are in that dream,
It's real.
it's real.
Yes.
So, like that, this is a kind of, don't think that this is a dream, but as if like a dream. So, with these sense organs and the subtle body, you create a virtual reality and you think that I'm isolated, I'm limited, and I'm all these constraints. But in reality, you are that consciousness. You have to identify with that consciousness. I cannot prove it right now, but at least please take this as a hypothesis. What is a hypothesis, by the way?
An educated guess.
It's an educated guess. The scripture is telling me, hundreds of masters are telling me, right? So, Shrindonti Vishwa Amritasya Putra, one Upanishad tells, oh, the son of immortality. I have seen that. In my own experience, I have experienced it. Ramana Maharshi, Who Am I? There is a beautiful book by Ramana Maharshi. He experienced it. Hundreds of masters came and experienced and gave this truth to you. But we are in a dream. There is a beautiful Malayalam movie, if you haven't seen that, just watch it with subtitle. It is called Guru.
Guru.
Yeah. So it's a big movie, but a portion of that movie is very interesting. Like the hero happened to be in a land where everybody is blind. Everybody is blind. You watched it, right? So everybody thinks that the world is blind. So this person tried to tell them that, okay, you are getting blind because you are eating a particular fruit. And there is a world outside of this blindness and the darkness. What did they do? They tried to kill him. This is exactly what happened to Christ. And all the masters, Krishna also was killed. Every master was punished by the people. Because they are seeing something which transcends our experience. So right now, take it as a hypothesis. Because scriptures have told us, the masters have told us, and yesterday only I saw a book. I forgot the author and the book. I'll call that out in the next week. A scientist in NASA, he told the same truth, his experience. Big scientists like Schrödinger, Erwin Schrödinger, Max Planck, Heisenberg, all these people acknowledged this. So I think I showed some definitions.
This is like your 10th person also, right?
Yeah.
The 10th person.
Correct.
Is-
Correct. So So these are, no. What's 13? Yeah. Look at this. This is the Schrödinger's definition. Erwin Schrödinger, who is the founder of quantum mechanics, he said, consciousness is never experienced in plural. It is singular. So, I'm not trying to prove Vedanta by adding scientific quotations to that. I'm just trying to say that even scientific minds, even though it cannot be proved, but this is appealing to them. So I quoted 3 scientists. One is Erwin Schrödinger. The second one is Max Planck. Have you heard of Max Planck? The one who discovered energy equal to h nu. Einstein found out energy equal to mc square. Max Planck is that caliber scientist. He also explained very similar thing. Do you think the consciousness can be explained in terms of matter and its law? Look at the second sentence. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as a derivative of the consciousness. This is not said by a person sitting in Himalayas. This is said by a Nobel Prize winning physicist. And look at Schrodinger's stuff in the last line. He is acknowledging that you are Indian thought. And he has a wonderful book called What is Life? And the entire book is Vedanta. Imagine, you don't have any authentic sources to study this. What he is hearing is only the loose translations. Still, yeah. And then there is one more scientist. It is George Wald. It is also very similar. I can quote a lot of scientists. So, I'm not trying to prove this with a scientist's discovery, because it cannot be discovered through that means. So here, I'm just saying that this is not something against the logic. That's the only reason why I'm quoting these scientists. Okay, so now the final thought, just recapping three things. First is, there are three things we need to understand. One is the body, physical body. Second one is the subtle body, which is loosely translated as soul. Because every tradition has their own interpretation on what is soul. That is why I'm trying to move away from that definition. And the last one is the Atma. And the Atma is only one. So, without, again I said, the subtle body is that which gives the personality of the body. But without the physical body, the subtle body cannot express. And without Atma, the subtle body and physical body is nothing. So the thing is, now the question is, who am I? Am I the physical body, borrowing the consciousness from Atma? Yes, I can think that way. If that is the case, I have a beginning, I have an end. Or I can say that I'm Atma, using these gadgets for a few transactions. How do you want to identify? It is our choice. These two options are possible. So now the thing is, this physical body has a definite beginning. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehandara praptir thira tatra namuhyati. So there Krishna used two things. One is deha, the other one is dehi. Dehi means the possessor of the deha. Deha means physical body. We explained what it actually is. It is dahana yogya. So the physical body. And who is that dehi? Subtle body. Because the dehi, the possessor, could be, you can interpret it as Atma, or you can interpret it as subtle body. But in this verse, it is clear that it is the subtle body, because he tells Deha Andara Prapti. Atma is not moving anywhere. There is no change for Atma, but the subtle body moves from one body to the other. Just like when this life of the computer ends, I can migrate the software from this computer to the next computer. And of course, when I go to the next computer, I can install new applications there. So in this particular life, I have picked up a few new programming, which is very much possible. So this is what it is. So the physical body has a limited duration. So when you die, what is being dead is the physical body. So it's something is lost. Of course, it's like breaking my phone. Is that painful? Of course it is painful. The other day we joked, for some people, it's as if their life is gone. They have more life in the phone. One of my friends told me, right, he feels handicapped when the phone is not with him. So that's true. So if there is no loss in death, of course there are some laws. I'm using the most powerful gadget given to me. But what is going to happen? I'm going to take up a new body. Third question. What is going to happen to Atma in all these processes? Nothing. So if these three knows, we can fly through the next 14-15 verses. Yes.
Rajaji, so when you say that I'm going to take up a new body, that I is the subtle body.
Subtle body.
Not the Atma.
Yeah, no, not the Atma.
Atma is.
Atma do not have any birth or death. Scriptural sanction. Na chayate mriyate va kadachit. There is no birth, no death. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Ajo nitya shashwatoyam purano. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Krishna tells in the next 5 verses. So this is applicable to Dvaitins, Vishishta Dvaitin and Advaitin. This is the doctrine of Gita. Because he tells, Najayate mriyate va kadachit. I was never born, as Atma is never born. Najayate mriyate va, never dead. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Having born, never cease to exist. Ajaha. Ajaha means what? Aja means what? Born. Ajaha means that which is not born. Nityaha. What is Nitya? Permanent. Shashwataha. Again eternal. Puranaha, the most ancient. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the physical body or subtle body is also a body. Sharira. Shirate iti sharira. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This is exactly Krishna's words. If somebody is not agreeing to that, it is their fault. They are not understanding Krishna's properly. That's it. So this is Gita. That's exactly what it is. So a couple of questions online. I'm just trying to answer that. And also if we can answer any questions. So Amisha ji asked a few questions. She could not join today. But she sent me the question. She said she's watching. So this is for you. So the first question was, there are so many questions because her experience, people used to tell that Atma travels from one body to the other. Sometimes context sensitive definitions are there. The Atma is referred as subtle body. Sometimes even Atma is referred as physical body. So that's what it is. But the real definition of Atma is that unchanging consciousness, which is only one. The pramana or the base for this argument is, as I quoted the Shvetashvara Upanishad, Eko Devaha Sarva Bhutandaratma Ekam Sat Vipra Behuta Vadanti. The truth is only one. That is you might have heard that. And then what? There are so many things, right? Ekam Eva Advitiyam. There are so many scriptural words. Second thing is, the question was, why this whole thing is happening? Why the subtle bodies are formed? What exactly is the rules that governs the birth and death and all these creation and destruction? Answer is, yeah.
That was a question. I mean, why does the subtle body suddenly one day decides to leave?
Okay, so that's another question. Good question. Okay, why the subtle body moves? Multiple reasons are there. One is, if that physical body is not good enough, why do you change a car? Some people buy a car. It's a most powerful, one of the most important gadget for them. Some people, what happens? Every 3 years they change the car. Who decides that? 2 factors as per the scriptures. One is subtle body. Second one is the physical body's ability to sustain the subtle body. If that is not, if the monitor is not functioning, it means, or if the processor breaks, what is going to happen? The subtle body cannot, even if it wants, it cannot. So the scriptural answer, this is practical answers.
Could it be the karma part of
Correct. I was coming to that. That's exactly what I was coming to. I said that is the practical answer. But the scriptural answer is, what happens is, so the karma explains this. That's the big topic. So we all come with a baggage of karma. So there is a pool of karma from the beginning of this cycle till now. What is happening is we acquire karma. Where every action we do, it leaves an impression. Again, the word karma can be confusing. When I say karma here, it is the impressions formed because of an action. That is also karma. Typically, when I say karma, what comes to your mind is the physical action. But the physical action leaves a footprint. That is what is karma. You will agree, right? The karma has some effect. If you start smoking from tomorrow, every day at 6 p.m. for next one year, after that, 7 o'clock,
You will have
do you need to look at the watch?
It's a habit.
footprint will happen.
Exactly. That's the habit is formed by the footprint. That's karma. The effect of karma in our day-to-day life is habit. Simple example. Whenever we try to do something, neurology also explains this brilliantly. Like the neural circuits will be formed. It's a software. Once that, you have to understand neural network. Those who comes to our machine learning class, we are going to study. You will appreciate Vedanta a lot when you study that neural networks, how it works. So, this karma,
Disconnected.
yes, I forgot to switch on the light.
That's okay.
Anyway, so this karma, at the time of death, what is going to happen? Let's say that there is a pool of 100 karmas are there. Don't think that it is just 100. What happens is, at the time of death, a subset of the karma will be extracted. So the karma, the global pool is known as Sanchita karma. And from that global pool, a subset of the karma will be pulled out. That is going to determine the direction of my next birth. It is known as prarabdha karma. So definition is, when that prarabdha is over, that could be 5 years, 15 years, 20 years or 120 years. And then once the prarabdha because of the prarabdha, I will find a new body. This is the 8th chapter. We're going to explain this in detail at that time. And when I get that body, whatever karma I acquire in that life is known as agami karma. So the agami karma, finally what is going to happen? The agami karma will go to that global pool, which is the Sanchita karma, and that refined global pool is going to determine the next prarabdha. This is the scriptural explanation.
Who is choosing the prarabdha from the Sanchita? Is the
There might be some algorithm defined by God, we don't know.
What is God choosing it?
No, God means what exactly is the law, right? The law of the nature. If you define a system, that system will have a law, right? What is the definition of a system, by the way? It's a collection of interrelated components.
Working
To-
towards a common goal.
Common goal.
Yeah.
So you are just a piece of that system. So the bolt in the computer has its own function. The designer put that bolt or a program in this overall scheme of things has a particular function. So according to that program or rule, it will happen. And right now I cannot conceive it. See, you are sitting constrained by space and time. You are sitting here with all these limitations and you are trying to conceive something beyond your imagination. So the only thing we can do here is follow the dharma. What is dharma? As much as possible, try to be aligned with the rule by which that system is defined.
Absolutely.
So if there is a system, if there is an assembly of students, that means the teachers might have put some rules. For what? If every student start screaming in the class, is that good for the running of the class? So for the smooth running of the class, certain rules were defined. Conformance by every members to that rule is important for what? For whom? For themselves.
Yeah.
The traffic rules. I don't want to stop in the traffic light. That is not my convenience. I want to go. Nobody likes being blocked. But why that rule came in? It is a system, traffic system, because it is designed to make sure that everybody is safe, everybody is commuting properly. So conformance to that law is not only important to me, It is important for the entire system. So when I conform to that law, I say that I am obeying dharma. This is the definition of dharma we have to understand. So conformance to the universal law is the dharma. It's not religion. Dharma is different. So understanding and conforming to that law is the role of all scriptures. So remember, what is the goal of Bhagavad Gita? Mama dharma. Said the first verse of the first chapter combined with the last verse of the last chapter. The first verse of the first chapter is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. And if you go to the 78th verse of the 18th chapter, the last word is Mama. So if you add that, Mama Dharma, my Dharma. How do I follow my Dharma? When you say Dharma, I don't carry that weight. People have, okay, Dharma means what? Dharma is Dharma. You heard that word multiple times and it doesn't carry much weight. But if you understand Dharma in this fashion, it makes complete sense. And then you have this Mukhya Dharma and Gauna Dharma. All that is there. Like sometimes I'm a teacher, I'm a dad. We called out that example in the last class. So the Dharma may conflict. And say, Dad, I need to take care of my child first. As a teacher, I need to be equal. So in a given situation, how do you know that what is your predominant dharma and what is the supporting dharma? Because if they conflict, what is the scripture tells? Follow the predominant dharma. Rama as a Raja, Rama as a husband, there was a conflict.
Yes.
At that time, what Rama had to follow? He had to follow the dharma of the king, even if it is injustice to the other thing. That is the reason. That is why Valmiki showed that incident. People don't understand that. Otherwise, he should have resigned. So like that, every time this dharma it's a very complicated subject. Dharma is not very easy. But coming back to this topic. So the second question was, Amisha's question was this one, right? So why these things are happening? It's beyond our comprehension. Only thing we can say is that it's part of that universal order. The universal intelligence who designed this entire cosmos has that rule well defined. And it is my favorite subject when I think about the whole physics laws and chemistry laws. I feel that there is that beautiful order exists in the universe. What I'm breathing is what is sent out by the whole leaves, right? How it is being recycled, how it is being beautifully designed. That is why it is a cosmos, not a chaos. So this cosmos is designed with well-defined design rules. Any system has to have a goal by which it is designed. A computer is designed, a phone is designed for making the calls. A car is designed for commuting. So the universe might have designed with some purpose by the designer. We don't know that. So that's the only answer I can give. Any other answer I can come up, but that answers won't be good. And interestingly, this question was asked by Swami Vivekananda in the World's Parliament of Religion. And his answer was, I don't know. And people liked him more for being honest rather than coming up with some fictitious answer. He said, no way for anybody to understand that right now, because you are in that framework. You're trying to understand the design of the framework, which is impossible. So the last question was, when the question is, some people have seen the spirit and the Atma. Again, I don't have any answers. When you say seeing, I'm not denying the fact that some people might have seen. But what exactly is there? Are they seeing? Remember, what exactly is their direct experience? What is projected in their mind? Sometimes it might be external, sometimes it might be internal projection. So that's it. All these Bhuta, Preta and ghost, etc. It's all 99% of that is stories.
Is this subtle mind one-to-one or is it interrelated?
Subtle, it's one-to-one. Like one subtle body will be associated with one physical body.
No, I'm talking about when it transcends from one to the other, right?
Yeah, it will be from one body, it will take a new body. That's it. It won't go to two bodies.
Not that way.
Yeah.
So I have seen my grandfather. I believe that I'm in a good, certain good deeds of him has given me some good things.
Correct.
Like he used to help
Correct.
anybody who comes to him,
Correct.
even if he doesn't have
Correct.
money, he will help.
Correct. Correct.
So that's what I'm asking. Like if I do some things, my offsprings, even though they are different subtle minds,
Certainly. Because
are they going to get
the
affected?
explanation by Vedanta is slightly different. You believe that that action has helped you. But the Vedanta will tell you that you born to his family because of his noble karma. Because your past also had some good deeds which forced you to be part of his family. So if you do good things, what is going to happen is the offsprings that comes to your family would be naturally, their prarabdha would be having some similarities, some connections with you. Right?
Yeah.
And I believe that. So that's why do good. At the end of Mahabharata, Vyasa stand up and cry, right? I wrote almost 100,000 verses.
Yeah.
I tried to explain different scenarios of life. But if I summarize that into one word, please follow the dharma. I'm crying in front of you. Please follow the dharma. Because dharmo rakshati rakshita. He who protects dharma. If you follow the law properly, what happens? The law protects me. Not just here, but even in the upcoming lives. Or whatever is our future journey is. This is logical because karma is not a shock absorber. It's not a fatalistic belief. It is a shock absorber, which it makes you more responsible. So that's why I said, like, if you want to believe something reasonable. Because if everybody follow this rule, universe will be a better place. So this is what it is. So I hope at least we have clarity on 3 topics. What is body? What is subtle body? And what is Atma? And Atma is only one. Atma, and if you read Shankaracharya's verse 11, he clarifies that. There is only one Atma. Nobody can touch it. And then people may say that, okay, if you really think about the Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, it won't align. Whenever such conflict happens, I always go back to the source. Because Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita or Advaita, all are interpretations of the same Gita. Go to the Gita. What Gita tells? What is the definition of Atma? Gita tells. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nyayam bhuktva bhavita vana bhuyah ajo nityasya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Then nainam chintanti shastrani nainam dahati pavagaha na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati marudaha. Have you heard of that? Then what? Achedyo hyamadahyoyam akledyo shoshe evajaha. The last 2 lines, listen. Nityaha sarvagataha. Sarvagataha means what? All pervading. Sarvagataha sthanu. Sthanu means stable. Achaloyam, not moving. Because if something is all pervading, how can I move the space from this room to the other room? It's impossible. I can move from this room to that room because of what? I am not there in that room now. Or spatially, I am not covering that room. If I am covering that room, I cannot move myself within myself. So the Atma is all pervading everywhere, it cannot move. Nityaha sarvagataha sthanu rachaloyam sanatanaha. In most eternal. The This is the definition of Atma given by the Gita. So now, with that, Krishna is saying that, now the next verse we are going to see is, if you don't need to worry about, means if the death is not a complete cessation of your existence, that's all we said, right? The complete cessation of the existence, of course there is a scope. Okay, if that risk is a little bit mitigated, what is the next risk? Living itself is a problem. Correct? My experience daily is very difficult. And some people even decide, you say that fear of death is the big death. Means some people commit suicide. Why? Because they cannot face the situation here. So how do you handle that? That's the next verse. These two has to be addressed. And then he's going to spend some time on the Atma part. What is that Atma we are talking? And couple of verses, especially 16 and 17, no modern physics scientists can give a better definition. You will be amazed. It's amazing, amazing definitions. And then for up to verse 38, this discussion is going to happen. Krishna is going to say that no situation in the world should not put you in this depressed state. Now the question is, yeah, theoretically it's good, but how do I experience it? You need a means to experience the state you are talking. So Krishna introduces a new topic as yoga. Essentially, it's a means to change your mental state into that level. So that's the next portion. So as I said, like this second chapter has four major portions. One is first verse 1 to 10, it is the problem statement, restatement. Second is verse 11 to 38, it is why we should not get into these depressed or unhealthy state. Krishna explains that from three orders of reality, from the absolute level, relative level, and even from the illusionary level. Then from 38 to 53, he explains what is the means of gaining experience to this, that is yoga. And finally, the last portion, he explains, once you gain this state, are you going to be, means to your question, suppose you change your identity from a body to Atma, what does that mean? Tomorrow, how do I am going to live in this world? How am I going to talk to my wife? How am I going to smile at my child? How am I going to go to the work? I'm Atma. If somebody asks you your name, you may say Arnab Ji, Arnab. Tomorrow I'm going to visit Sachidananda Atma. No. So how am I, with this knowledge, how am I going to transact in the world outside? Brilliantly explained. That is the Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Look at the sequencing, how nicely it is arranged by a brilliant master. So Gita has to be appreciated and studied to this level. Then only that appreciation comes in.